guilty or innocent.
The 12 jury members set to resume deliberations at 9:30 this morning. Our Caitlin Lockerbie is live this morning at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse. Caitlin, what can we expect today?
Well, Paige and Eric, the charge here is voluntary manslaughter. A jury has to determine whether or not Randall Kerrick used excessive force when he shot and killed Jonathan Farrell nearly 2 years ago. Now, yesterday we heard two very different stories about the early morning hours of September 14th, 2013. The prosecution starting, they were laying out their claims that Kerrick made a bad choice when he pulled his gun and acted irresponsibly. The defense claiming his shots were in self-defense, that he had only moments to react when Farrell charged his way, and jurors began deliberating yesterday afternoon. Beforehand, they asked the judge to redefine voluntary manslaughter. They could convict Kerrick of that as early as today. They will reconvene here at the courthouse at 9:30 this morning. And of course, racial tensions has also been some underlying issues throughout this case. A white officer shooting an unarmed black man. We've seen other high-profile cases in Ferguson, Missouri, in New York. CMPD says that they are planning for any protests, that they are going to keep the community safe throughout the verdict in this trial. And of course, we will be keeping you abreast of what happens today in the courtroom. We're live outside the courthouse this morning. Caitlin Lockerbie, Fox 46 News.
All right, thank you so much, Caitlin. Matt Fleischman is a partner at Rosensteel Fleischman Law Firm right here in the Queen City. He's joining us live this morning to kind of walk through what the jurors may be thinking this morning as they try and decide on a verdict in this case. And Matt, welcome to the show. As always, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the pace. This has all progressed, I think, a lot quicker than we initially predicted or experts predicted. Do you think that the verdict part of this will actually happen quickly as well, or is deciding someone's fate as heavy as a weight as we think it is?
I think it's an extremely heavy burden for this jury. I think they're going to do what most juries do, which is they're going to take their time, they're going to sift through all the evidence. There was a significant amount of evidence in sort of a short period of time, relatively. But I think at the end, the jury is going to be satisfied with their decision. I think they're going to come to a reasoned decision based on the evidence.
Now, does the breakup of the jury pool have anything to do with this? The men versus the women, will that impact the jury decision in any way? You
know, you're going to get different responses from different attorneys based on their own histories, their own war stories. I think this is actually a very good jury for the defense. I think you have a number of women here that they're going to be sympathetic potentially to the defendant, but the state would argue that the jury would be sympathetic to the loss of another woman's son. I think, you know, you're going to have good arguments on both sides, and that jury is going to focus on whatever little bit of evidence that they're going to use to decide this gentleman's fate, one way or the other.
Let's talk about them asking for a definition again of voluntary manslaughter. Should we really think much of that?
I've been asked that question by a couple people now, and I tell people no. Okay. If you've sat in or participated in a jury trial after all the evidence and the arguments are made by the attorneys, the judge is going to instruct the jury on the law, and it is a mind-numbing process where the judge just reads a whole litany of things. And it's funny to watch as the lawyers, as some of the jurors try to write down in the very beginning what the judge is saying, right, and then give up, because there's so much information, so many rules and laws given to the jury that them coming back and asking for explanation is not unusual at all.
What about the actual evidence piece? Is it pretty standard for them to ask to maybe see the dash cam video again or review any evidence?
Yeah, very, very common. It would be unusual, to be frank, if they did not in this type of case.
So it's so high profile.
It's very high profile, and you have, you know, the death of a young man, plus you have the life of a young man hanging in the balance in some respects. So you want your jury to do exactly what this jury is doing, which is taking this very seriously, looking through all the evidence, and in the end, you hope, coming to a reasoned decision.
And in your experience, the fact that this is such a high-profile case, and we've seen the protesting in other cities with similar types of situations, how much will that weigh on those jurors?
You would hope it would not.
Okay.
Okay. You would hope that they're going to decide this case strictly on the merits of this case. This is the way our judicial system is designed to work. You don't want public opinion to sway a jury. You don't want public opinion to sway a judge. You want the decision to be made strictly on the merits of the case. Whether the jury is going to do that or not, anybody's guess.
Yeah, we never know. We'll know when we know.
We'll know when we know.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always. One thing that you did mention off camera that I did want to say is that when it actually comes to the experts in this case, that you said the jurors pretty much understand that both sides are going to have experts, so they might not weigh one over the other.
Yeah, in my experience, typically if you've got good experts on both sides, I think they're both discounted out, and typically the juries are going to focus on things that maybe the lawyers didn't think were very important, and that's what they're going to use to decide this case. It's tough for lawyers who spent 2 years of their lives fighting on this case to give up control to the jury, but that's how the system works.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So Fox 46 will be in the courtroom all morning long, as Caitlin mentioned. You can stay up to date with the Kerrick trial by downloading our Fox 46 News app. You can find it on the App Store or Google Play. And when the verdict comes down, we will live stream it on our website, fox46charlotte.com.